Social business, this kind of a tool coexist inside an organization that is primarily email driven?
Yeah, for sure. What we've done, for example, with SVB and other customers is to focus on things you do in everyday life. And you do that through email. And like a sales manager, that's big. Let's take a sales manager. Each week, maybe every Friday, he sends out this report to his sales reps and saying, this is how we're doing bad or good, and this is the best sales rep, and this is the worst one. That is easily transformed in our world to a blog. The blog is the sales manager's blog, each post is the email. And he communicates through that, and the sales reps are subscribing to this. The big benefit is that an email sent today is worth nothing for a new employee tomorrow, because he wasn't in the building. So you couldn't receive the email, so you couldn't tap into the knowledge. So in this case, when they actually got the sales manager on board and communicated through a blog, so the new sales rep tomorrow is going to enter the company, onboard the company, he can easily tap into everything said within the sales organization before, the prior week, the last 6 months, or the next, the full year, and you can easily see who's doing best, worst, if the sales manager is a good guy or a bad guy. So that is, we actually look into what you do in everyday workday and put it into the system in some way or another. So it's persistent and consistent instead of email, because email is the worst tool of collaborating. So this is how it could look like. It's pretty crappy on the screen though, but this is our intranet, social intranet of course, and we call it the Pulse. So each company we work with call their intranet something. We have one call it Ernst, so they say go and ask Ernst. Google, as I said, we have one calling it Go Fish, because it's like a pond. You go there to find information, so go fish and you will find it. If you don't find it, ask the community. So you can name it, on yourself. So we are entirely, as a company, communicating through this internally. We never send an email internally, we just communicate through this. And that makes my workday much more easy as well, specifically now being 9 hours behind. Is when I go in here, I communicate and I work with my coworkers. In my email, I work with my suppliers or resellers or other external parties, completely separated. So I can very, very easily manage my time. And in this case, it's, like Facebook, you have your notification, people are interacting with you in some way or another. And either they are replying to something or they are mentioning you, like, I want to interact. So this is typically how a solution can look like. We have spaces, like a workspace. So in this case, marketing PR, there's loads going on. Natalia's, this is a workspace, you can see everything going on, which members we have, what it's about, presentations, if some notifications specifically for me. And then we have different areas, like here you can see discussion going on about event planning. So everything you can, this evening has been planned through this tool, of course. And involving Robert overseas and the people back at home. We have this ongoing checklist for the event, people what we're going to do, and we have a lot of comments and inviting people and to do stuff. It's been very efficient. The cool stuff here is that if we're going to do a new event in 6 months, we can just tap into this Google, so to speak, event in our own system, and I will find information about a good venue across campus. I will find information about suppliers we're using, and so on and so forth. So that is like Googling your own company, as I said before. Whatever result we're going to end up. Planning event February 2014. So the thing is, everything we put into the system from day one is actually creating value in the future. We don't talk about relevance, like, is it relevant to publish this now? No, it isn't. Maybe not, but who knows? In 6 months, it is. That's how internet works, The guy who was publishing this crazy information about this set-top box, whatever it is useful for me in 1 year, maybe. I don't know. And exactly the same thing we're creating within the companies we're working with. Put it into the system, and at some time or another, it will become useful. And then you can move faster, hopefully, than your competitors. This is a very long answer to a very simple question.
Well, I always like long answers, because I generally give them. Anybody else have a question?
Before you dose off from all the beer?
Did you say that you can sort of bifurcate your communications in terms of your internal employees, outside vendors, that sort of thing, that you can have different channels of?
Yeah, you can do that as well. You can combine if you need that. You know, we have a customer who have factories in China, and to make the communication more easy and persistent, they invite, you know, the key players in that factory. They're not employees, but they invite them to a separate workspace. They don't see everything; they just see the stuff that's going on around them.
And
But-
you can go into that separate workspace as well?
Yeah.
Or is that coming on your a single main page?
It could be,
Like
if
all-
you're a part of the workspace, you know, you will see that as well. So it's always filtered through that, and you can have what we call private and public spaces. So you can invite a supplier to. Yeah?
So you eliminated email altogether?
At our company, yes.
So how do you, I mean, I understand.
Internally.
Internally, right. So this tool, or this platform, I should say, say that you have a scenario that only two members need to discuss. HR and employer usually is like one-on-one, that's
Yeah.
it. So you will have many, I don't know, sandboxes or
You could
chat
have,
rooms or whatever you call them in your terminology, that you define all the way down to the smallest unit, which is 2 people.
yeah, exactly. So you can have a private discussion.
And that will not be showing up in any search that is outside of those two.
So even in Sweden, we don't have any open salary discussions. So it's like an instant messaging. It's like Skyping, but within our platform. Our end goal is that everything that is created is going into our platform, so I can search for it, even if it's my personal stuff, so to speak. But it goes into the same database all the time. So instead of, you know, moving from this tool to this tool to this tool, and all of a sudden you have all the information scattered around, and you have to search your inbox, search your Skype, search your internet, whatever.
So people, whoever is used, I mean, I'm used to use email for years, right? So I have this.
To the wrong generation.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. This preconceived notion of how to even group things, okay? So I have my folders, like how would you teach someone that comes from that world? What's the transition like? What's the learning curve like? What's the, transformation?
Yeah.
How do you map his old world to what you propose here?
Yeah, you always have this adoption curve in terms of, early adopters and I don't give a shit, and then the naysayers. And it's always drawn like this, that you have the big hurdle, and here you have the nay, here you have the yeah, and here I don't care. So what we've done to make life easy is to just focus on the yeah, and then we will bring the I don't care on board. And the naysayers is obviously maybe you then, not to put you in the corner. But we just weigh them out. They will board sooner or later because they have nothing to choose from. And then they will be taught by the other who are already on board. Like my dad has recently entered Facebook. So who did he call to, get into Facebook and get to learn? Yeah, by me, because I use Facebook and I can onboard him. So in the same way here. So for a company's sake, it's onboarding is far much more easy, more cost efficient, and you have loads of ambassadors defending the solution. The yaysayers, the yay, and we don't give a shit. Yeah, I'll think you first.
Sure. What does it take to drop a vanilla version of the application in an organization?
In terms of installation, 5 minutes. In terms of adoption, you can see, if you're doing a good job, you can see, big changes within 90 days, 3 months, so to speak. You can see that, what you put in is actually, you get something back, you can see your value creating. But it's also, I met so many people say, we did Yammer, we did this, and it didn't work out because they didn't have a strategy. They have an idea to actually do it. They just tried out because someone told them it was cool stuff. But in that sense, you can see, installation-wise, no problem. But it could take up to 90 days to see the effect, and then obviously, hopefully, it will continue to grow. So it's pretty fast in that sense. And also in this term, buying our software or other software within social collaboration is like buying a whiteboard. It's empty from the beginning. The whole idea is to use it, to collaborate, share ideas, wipe it out, add new stuff. It's empty from the beginning. So it is, from that sense, a no-brainer to get started. But you have to now have an idea. Yeah?
I think kind of on his question is, what types of, how can you restrict data to certain users to view?
It's, I'm talking about complete transparency and openness, but I know the reality in a business to business or a business company or enterprise isn't that, it isn't so. So still in our system, you can go, set permission rights down to an individual level based on your login credential into the network. So it's still very basic and classic with setting permissions, read, write, all that stuff. It's there, but we tend to sell it in or promote it as totally open because it's easier for any company to actually begin in that end. Otherwise, you're going to end up with tons of meetings with all the colleagues to say, okay, who's going to do that? We're going to create a sitemap and set permission levels even before we haven't begun. So in this case, we do it the exact opposite. Okay? Or?
So like even like, you said like there's like a post or a blog, so can you set a permission level on that?
Yeah.
Or is it based on like the workspace it's in?
No, it's down to the comment level, so to speak. The last level, user, comment, or whatever. So the space is only the over general settings for that space, but then you can limit it the further down you go into that space. Okay?
Yeah.
Good.
Unless you're a startup, which is like starting with literally a blank slate, how do companies adopt this who already have a lot of legacy data, whether they're already in email archives or in other archives? How would they adopt a social platform like this?
The email archiving doing almost nothing about, but the most common setup is that you have this shared folder. You have a Z drive or a Q drive, and people just stuff it with documents, and you have no idea where it is. So what we do is we index that shared folder. So everything you have in your network, we can index that, and it's part of our search result. So that means everything you have in place you can still find, but we want your new work to be done here instead. So you don't have to have this major hurdle in terms of moving all the stuff from this to this. That's a very, very common solution to address that problem. Email archives is a problem because everyone has their own email box structured in different ways. We don't address that issue, but shared folders for sure. Yeah? Yeah, you first?
Thank you. I'm just wondering, what development tools were used to build the front end and the back end for this system?
This is completely Microsoft based, of course. So it's based on .NET Framework 4.0, I think, in terms of the MVC on the back end. And as we built it, it's completely API driven. So we have built a separate engine which does all of the business logic. And then on top of that, we have used Pretty Bootstrap and jQuery and different frameworks to create the UI, which is responsive and all that stuff. So it's totally separated. So we can extend it easily. We can create new apps. You all do all your own development and customizations in Visual Studio. So it's completely, it's by the book in that sense.
So you're not dealing with SQL Server?
Yeah, you do, but you get by with the SQL Server Express because the system is the system's footprint is very, very small. The installation takes like 10 megabytes. Like you can almost have it on a floppy, and it's very resource efficient. So you can run it on a Windows XP machine if you want to do that. Yeah.
When you index all the files that were already at the shared drive, everything, are you indexing just the titles of the files, or are you actually indexing what's in the files? Like
in the files.
Documents, and the PDFs and the scanned documents?
Yeah. As long as it's OCR, so to speak, there is text in it. We can't index a JPEG file. It has to be some text in the file. So even if there is a description in the JPEG file, like, this is a photo, whatever, we index that. So we index everything. So it's just not the file. So PDF, Word, Excel, whatever you put into the system, we index that. And that is also the same in our system. Of course, we have support for documents. You can attach document to discussion, like, I want to discuss why China is going so bad, and then I attach an Excel file. And the Excel file is indexed as well. There was another question down there?
Yeah, do you guys have the capability of setting expiry? So if I want something to exit the system at a predefined date or after a certain amount of time, so it's not discoverable?
We used to. We haven't included our new generation for the reason that it was a requirement for many customers in our earlier versions, but no one used it, what we know. So it's a typical, we need to have that, but we never use it. So no, today we don't have it. Sorry.
Do you have any tools to structure the data in a
process or to link different pieces of information. So if there is a process, for example, I can give you, of course, if you have the document of the process flow, for example, you have the dispute of the union, for example, one union was the manager.
Okay, workflow.
And it's a workflow, of
Yeah.
course, or you can be the medical file processing for the insurance company, whatever. The typical workflow process, same thing happens when you start working. You're going through a certain workflow to get to know
Yeah.
things, as you mentioned.
Yeah, no, we don't have any workflows at all. It's just publish or edit, whatever. So we handle that with great regret to SharePoint or other systems in terms of document management, because there you have loads of stuff like that. But still, we can index and search and make it discoverable through our system. But
And you have a cross-language capability.
yeah, you have cross-link capabilities, yes.
I mean, international languages like French, English, Swedish. For example, you have a great article that you wrote in your native language.
Yeah.
But we dumb Americans have really no access to it because we don't really read Swedish. How do you deal with that or not?
We deal it, our customers have made it easy to just use Google Translate it, like in your Chrome, but not in a search sense. We can't, that's a huge challenge to actually make, written in your native language, and I can search for it in English and still find it.
Well, I know the company that did it about 12 years ago.
Yeah, so now we don't have support for that, if I understand the question
And the
correctly.
last question, how do you deal with competition from the services available online? I understand the security aspect.
Yeah.
But for example, I'm the member of the community that handles all the questions. When I was a kid, I was a tour guide. It handles all the questions of the tour guides. For example, you go to Sochi right now and you have issues, how to find your way around it. All of those things will be available through the community. Similar thing, in effect, is not here. How do you feel you will be protecting your business model from the services offered by the communities like this, which are free?
Yeah. So, if I understand it correctly, how you protect the data created within this solution from external parties, or?
No, well, that could be later issue, a separate issue.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the competition of online communities
Aha, okay.
that your workers can create, in a sense.
Yeah, okay, so they wander off and create something there and wander.
Right.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge still, because you have this, it's so accessible. So in a heartbeat you can create a new Jammer account or a Basecamp account. But we can see a trend moving towards, okay, we have to get control of it, because the CIO and the IT manager, they have a headache in terms of, okay, they have an IT budget, and by the end of the year they can see they have crossed that line, for a long time ago, because people are buying software or software as a service all over the place. So they're pulling the handbrake, so to speak, and trying to get control of it. So that's something we try to address by having a software that IT manager actually can control, and it's a software that users actually want to use. So it's a combination of those two factors. And then you have to, of course, get the users on board so they don't wander off the Basecamp, and customize it if it needs to be customized and stuff like that. So we can see that trend moving back to getting more control, and especially getting on-premise, so you have control of the data, stuff like that. So we are an on-premise software, which, according to Wikipedia, is classed as an old-fashioned software, which I like to be. I like to be old-fashioned. But we can see it's moving very, very fast backwards in those terms, but forward still to, okay, what is the data? We want to have control. It's behind the firewall or in the private cloud or whatever. But, but competing with it's kind of a communication thing from the company to the employees that we have a platform for this. That's what I was talking about, this viral effect, making it grow and get people on board without training. We never train any of our companies, the whole staff has never been trained in Bold Italic and stuff like that. It's just being introduced to the software through other ambassadors within the company.
Right, but the employees frequently are in fear of the management, getting involved in issues that they are discussing. So sometimes there is this, as the lady mentioned, the issue of the security within the group.
Yeah.
So, and that plays to outside tools sometimes. versus a local tool, because you feel like an NSA being under the Big Brother's control.
But when you say Big Brother, you mean the management, or?
Of course. I mean,
Okay.
so if you don't know something, essentially,
Yeah.
when you ask a question, you go to have the guy, the fear that you have is, well, he will report you that you didn't know something, right? Or you feel bad that you're asking around. But here you go into ask everybody, so everybody knows here, you're the guy who doesn't know.
Yeah.
So that sort of plays into the sense, well, maybe not everybody's going to use it in the setting.
Yeah, I get you. And, you know, it's changing though, but still, it's self-regulated by the end of the day, in the future. And you will have this, you know, I'm talking, the concerns I always get is both from management who says, I don't pay my employees to chit-chat on work days, you know, so why should I give them a tool to do that? Or I'm so afraid they're gonna say some negative stuff about our business in some way and everyone can read that. Oh my God, because everyone has already access to email anyway. But the other side of that, you know, coin is that the employees are afraid maybe to share too much because they will be judged, you know, either they're a smart ass or, you know, dumb or something in the middle. And absolutely, that is a challenge. But we can see that in this curve, as I said, we have the yay, I don't give a damn, and then the nay. And it will take a long time for the nay to actually get on board. You know, if ever, you know, I think, you know, hell will freeze to ice before, you know, you get everyone on board, but still you can try. But as a company, it's going to be faster.
Ricardo, where do you see this technology going over the next year or two? What's your vision of the future?
My vision of the future, that was a grand picture. I think the next leap within what we're doing is real-time communication. And then, I mean, instant messaging, of course, but also video conferencing and audio conferencing. I don't know if you heard of it, but there's a new protocol that is more or less completed called WebRTC, which is a standard like HTTP, and it stands for Web Real-Time Communication, and it includes audio, video, and instant messaging. And the cool stuff is computer to computer. So that makes I can have a video conference with a colleague, computer to computer, without ever leaving my network at work, if it's the office network. So I don't have to go out the internet to make this call for Skype or go to a meeting, whatever. It can retain within the network and the firewall. And we can also record a meeting in that sense. So the real-time communication, I can record a whole meeting, audio, video, chatting and all stuff, and I can have a slider saying, okay, what did we say 33 minutes into this meeting? And we can transcript that into something. So I think real-time, it's going to take a while, but real-time communications is going to be a big part of what we're doing. But still, I feel it's early grounds in terms of maturation, and we have the concerns both from the employees and the management. So this is a market space that's very challenging in that sense.
Yeah, Ricardo, you know, just a comment back to this comment back here. You know, and I'll make a comment and ask you for an answer. So this seems to be a technology for transparency. You know, it's a technology that you know, for small companies that are innovative, you know, are looking you know, to develop products to move fast. It's an ideal communication tool. So, you know, that's the way it seems to me. How does it, you know, play out in your client base?
As it being the ideal communication tool, or?
Well, you know, what I heard back there was a culture, you know, issue,
Yeah.
saying we don't want to be as transparent,
Yeah.
okay, as incentive would make everything.
Yeah.
And so, you know, in your client base, you know, how is it playing out? Who's actually using the tool?
It's playing out well, obviously, because you use it, but that is because they are ready to do so. It's a company, maybe, you know, already in a cultural way, very open, regardless of using incentive or another tool. It's management is very open with the figures and the numbers and stuff like that. So then it's easy to implement because it's, you know, is like the company already is. So, and that's what we have today as clients. It's this low-hanging fruit, so to speak, because they are already there in the mind. But, you know, as a manager for a company, there is so much to gain to not dig into it, so to speak, and make the changes. And changes are hard. It takes a lot of effort and or your fear.
Okay, well,
So-
Ricard, thank you, thank you very much.